Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the second in the series of speakers for the Grimm Family Center for Ag Business. I'm Aaron Hegde. I'm the executive director for the center. I'm also a professor of economics here. I'll just say a little bit about the center, and then I'll invite our provost to come and introduce our guest today, President Zelezny. So the Grimm Family Center for Ag Business was established with a generous donation of $5 million from the Grimm family. And in fact, a big reason for that is the introduction of Barbara Grimm, and President Zelezny was someone who's here in the audience, Patty Poiré. So welcome. She's the just the immediate past president of the Kern County Farm Bureau, as well as the director of the Kern Water Agency, Groundwater Authority. And so thank you for being here. And thank you to all the guests. We have some deans and AVPs and stuff here, so that says something about the speaker you're going to hear. So the Grimm Family Center for Ag Business, in addition to hosting monthly speakers on agriculture and food-related topics, also does some research in the ag and food areas. So this year, we're doing that through working with some faculty and students. So one of those faculty, we call them the Council of Affiliated Faculty, is here, Dr. Kate Mulry from History. And so, yes, please. And I don't see others, but we have faculty from all four of the schools that are working with students and have been working throughout this year. And on November 17th, if you're free in this place, it's a Friday, from 11 to 4, we'll have the students present their research. So please do join us for that. And then the next in the speaker series is next month, November 29th, Marcos Perez. He works with the Natural Resource Conservation Service of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and he'll be talking about sustainable agriculture in the Central Valley. So again, if you're free, we have some flyers out there, do that. So again, none of this would have been possible without the generous gift from the Grimm family, so always want to thank them for it. They, as you know, they're from Grimmway and the carrots. Unfortunately, we don't have any carrots here today. We'll try to get them at the next event. But it's their belief in education, and specifically agricultural education, that resulted in the largest gift to date to the institution. So again, thanks to our president for making it possible, and of course, since Patty's here, to make that introduction. So that's a little bit about the Grimm Family Center for Ag Business. So hopefully you'll come to our other events as well. So it is now my pleasure to introduce to you somebody who needs no introduction, but our provost, Provost Harper, who will actually introduce our guest, President Zelezny. So Provost Harper.
And I certainly want to give Aaron a round of applause for his leadership of the Grimm Center. Give him one of those. The Grimm Center being such an important addition to our university in terms of its the support that was given for the Grimm Center, and the future endeavors for the university are just going to be vast and ever growing. I was thinking while I was standing back there about what I could say about President Zelezny without crying and getting all teary eyes. But really, it's about great leaders and great leadership. They do so many things. But I think the most important thing that great leaders do is invest. They invest in others. And they invest their time, they invest their heart, and they invest themselves in others. I'll be selfish, I feel like I'm the greatest beneficiary of Dr. Zelezny's leadership and the things that I've been able to find within myself, the way that I've been able to grow under her leadership, and the opportunities that have come from me really stem from her mentorship of me. And so that is an enormous gratitude that I have, especially in this time of transition. But one of the things that I've been able to see during these last few weeks of transition, sort of like a server at a restaurant, I did work at Applebee's for a long time, I've been shadowing her. and going across the state, traversing the state, and being in very, very different situations with her, and watching that her decades of leadership have led to investments in so many people. And I wish you could see that. Everyone is not getting the opportunity to do this with her, and it is a true blessing to see how many people come up to her, how many people embrace her, how many people talk about the years of investments that she has made in them to help them become better leaders, whether that has been at Fresno State or it has been here. And I've wondered to myself, how could someone give so much? And the only answer that I can find is that she has one of the greatest hearts and wells of mentorship that a person could have. And so with that, I would like to introduce President Lynette Zelezny.
Well, Provost, thank you so much. That was very heartfelt and very much appreciated. I look forward to talking about my long journey with poems. And it began with my grandfather when I was 5 years old, so he is the true instigator. I'm not a poet by training, but it is a part of me that I hope to continue to create and to leave a legacy of artistic words. And so it's a real joy to share tonight this poem, which is called Bounty of Goodness. And I want you to also realize that the title of this poem, Bounty of Goodness, is the initials of Barbara Grimm. Gracious, generous, golden, generational Grimm family, givers of goodness and glorious bounty, greatest gratitude. Radiant Barbara and Carrie, righteous partners of runners on the rise, reverent respect and eternal love, inspired and innovative, infinitely iconic, invaluable, mighty mosaic medallions of Madonna life giving sustenance, mega masterful, magnificent offerings, ambassador of acreage and action, alas, growers of substance and spirit, beauty and beacons of bunches, that's the carrot part, brilliant, bearers of brightness, unbounded, unwavering, unity unmatched, seeds of hope, sparkling sunshine, rich soil, and sincerity, superpower servant leadership, support so sweet, sustain us now.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll ask the first question, and then please, any of you feel free to ask questions. So my question is, would you mind walking us through your process as you write this?
I'm happy to. So my process in the way I write poems is first, I think about the visual and the feeling that I want the poem to portray. And I want it to also be portrayed on multiple levels. So when I talk about sparkling sunshine, I see it as you come over the grapevine and we see this majestic valley of ours, and so much of that is due to wonderful farmers like the Grimm family. And yet I also want it to symbolize the spirit of the people. And so I want it to have multiple meanings. The image that I was trying to create in this poem is really to think about those flourishing mosaic fields, the visual that you see from miles and miles, and it's only here in the California Central Valley that you really see that inspiration. I also wanted to embrace the beautiful landscapes that are so true to the Central California Valley and the pride that we have in that, the promise, the prosperity. And when we look at the fields, my favorite time of day is at the end of the day when the light is really so very special and the fields look so sun-kissed. And I wanted to portray the artistic piece of the produce that is growing and that will nourish us. And the generosity of the gift, not only of the produce, but of the people that touch the fields, touch the crops, and make us healthy, and they nourish us. And then thinking about the family and the people behind the business, the agricultural business that feeds the world. This is the largest producer of carrots in the world, and we have it right in our backyard. And so thinking of the goodness and the giving of this family, the character, integrity of this family, and the way that they really embrace support. They support the community, they support the university, and it really is about service beyond self. So I write down what it is I want as a visual and as a symbol of the poem. And then the second thing I should say is I really love alliteration. And so you can see it in the poem where there are multiple words that begin with the same letter, and that's on purpose. So this poem actually has a structure as you look at it in writing, as you look at the words that begin the first lines of each of the stanzas, it spells Grimm Ag Business. So I like to have a structure to begin with, and then the dictionary is my best friend when it comes to, again, finding all the right words. And I write many poems, and it's so interesting that even though I use that structure for most of my poems, how different the words are that I choose, because it really is very special to the occasion, the person, and the meaning that I'm trying to portray.
Thank you. It sounds like you really enjoy the creation and stuff, and we can see that in the word choices.
Yeah, thanks for noticing that. Yes, I'm trained as a psychologist, but I'm an experimental psychologist, research psychologist, so I'm trained in the scientific method. But in a way, this is also very methodical. But I really feel that my contributions that I'm most proud of, other than I'm very proud of being the president at Cal State Bakersfield, but my very proud products are creative, and that includes students, what we pour into you, and the investment that we make into, again, making you shine, finding your jewel-like self, and then letting all that potential come to fruition. So I really love the creative process, and I'm really proud of creative things that I produce, and in a way that will be my legacy.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the president. Okay?
Yes,
Get
and
you,
yeah, please use the mic and introduce yourself so I can get to know you. And while the question is coming up, let me just say my absolute gratitude to Barbara Grimm and Carrie Grimm and the Grimm family. Patty Poiret was truly at the center of this journey and this story. And I want you to recognize there's a common thread here. So Patty and I met through an organization that really cares about the Central Valley and making important decisions that leave the valley stronger. And so Patty and I met. I came from Fresno State as a provost to visit the Grimm family charter schools, and I wanted to see the way they were organized, and I wanted to see the land that they were using and growing their own food. So I met Patty, and then the next thing I said to Patty is, I really would love to meet Barbara Grimm. Now, this is way before a glimmer in my eye that I was coming to Bakersfield as its next president. And sure enough, soon after I was nominated for this position as president at Cal State Bakersfield, and as many of you know the story, I had many nominations to other universities, but I always turned them down because they never felt as if they were the right fit for me. I didn't feel like I had a story. I didn't feel like that's where I could thrive. I could really give my best. But when I was nominated for Cal State Bakersfield, it took literally 30 seconds. And I said, that's the one that I would really be interested in. And when I was appointed to this position, Patty and others helped me to meet Barbara before I was even on the true appointment. And it was Barbara who immediately began to talk about how we would work together in partnership. And here's the common thread. When I think about the three first gifts that I had for contributions to academics here at CSUB in our campaign, they were all women. They were all women. And Barbara was the one that stepped forward and was the boldest in saying, this is the right time for the Grimm family to give back. It was their anniversary. It was our upcoming anniversary. But I really want to thank the women leaders who really connected all the dots and made this happen. So thank you, Patty.
Hello.
Hello.
President Selesny. Nice to see you.
So lovely to see you.
I'm Andrea. Your poem was very beautiful.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for everything you've done for CSUB. I know your retirement is coming up soon on your birthday, I believe.
It is on my birthday, yes.
Yeah, I'm excited that we have our interim president.
Yes, a very good one.
Yeah. My question to you is, in the span of time you've spent at CSUB, what has been your favorite memory? And what is the best piece of advice you could give to CSUB students?
So, I can say that that the memory that I will have when I celebrate this amazing career that I've had, and my whole career has been in the CSU, it is about the thousands of students I've been able to have the privilege to touch in some way and to make a difference and to watch them just thrive. It's just been beautiful. So I'm so proud of that, and I still hear from my students, and I hope that I'll always hear from you. So I'm very, very proud of the contributions of students and what they give back. Like me, with a CSU education, I was able to, really expand my potential. I never thought when I graduated from Cal State Humboldt that, I would be university president. That was never in my thinking. And I had a very circuitous journey to even academia, but it was so worth it, and it's been such a good fit for me. I love books, and I love all of the ideas and the research and the scholarship, and again, just watching people really grow. So that's my best memory.
And growing is good for agriculture too.
Yes, growing is always good for agriculture.
Any other questions or thoughts or comments?
I see so many of you. I see Miranda back there. Miranda, I wear Miranda's ring, so thank you, Miranda Miller, who's in the back here, who's one of scholar athletes, who pole vaulter, now in a graduate program, amazing student, but just an amazing person. So great to see so many students that make me so very proud.
So while others are thinking of a question, I'll ask you another one. Going back to your poem, you said you like to visualize, image, and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you have words that you kind of put in and then go back and change, or what is that process?
Yes, so we were talking about it because we've just come from a trip together for the graduation initiative, and the poems take time, just like a painting would. So typically I start with what I want the visual and the symbols to be, and then I do start the research work, so it's just like other scholarship. People laugh at me because I travel with a big fat dictionary, and I pull it out, and people say, oh, it's poems. And so I start with pages of words, and then a little bit like Michelangelo, the words sort of find you, and it's a wonderful it's a wonderful process of learning more about words and the many ways you can use words. So that's the research part of it. So there's quite a bit of time in that front end, and then the back end, once you get the feel of the poem, it takes, just like a great paper, right? And professors know this, it takes many iterations of that. So it's usually coming back to the poem, many, many times until I really feel I have it right. And sometimes the closer you are to people, the harder the poem is to write. I was asked to write poems for retiring CSU presidents, and I had 4 ask me to write a poem, and they were all going to be delivered on the same day at their retirement ceremony. And so I thought, well, 2 things. Number one, people are going to get really tired of me standing up and giving, because there was only 6 retiring presidents, I'm speaking for 4 with a poem. And yet they were all so vastly different. So Bill Covino from Cal State LA, his poem was called Wild Bill. Well, as you can imagine, if you know Bill Covino, a very shy man, people laughed hysterically. And of course, it was a very funny poem because he actually has a really fun sense of humor. Cal State Fullerton's president also asked me to write a poem, and he's a corporate lawyer that became a president, a very faithful man, and he's very complicated and complex. And I know him pretty well. And that one took me a long time because there's so many complexities, and I had to get it just right because I knew that he would be searing into each word that I used in that poem. And it was a longer poem, and there were moments of laughter, but mostly it was pretty serious. And he, I could tell was really pensive when I'm delivering that poem. And then my friend Ellen Junn from Cal State Stanislaus, I've known her many, many years. She and I came up the ranks, professors, associate vice presidents, provosts together, and then presidents together. Well, the minute I said the title, and Erin helped me with all of these poems, and her title was Timeless Pearl, and that was it. big, huge, huge tears. And so, I knew that I had the right title, I had the right sense of her. And it's really interesting to watch how people react to what they've asked you to do, which is a poem, right? But Erin Pruitt, I want to just thank her. She's in the Office of the President, along with now working for the Grimm Ag Business Foundation. So Erin helps me, and I'll do this for Barbara and Carrie as well. She helps me make the poems into keepsakes. So I send the keepsake to them, and it's really special. And Erin has done such a beautiful job on that. And she even helped me. The Chancellor even asked me to write a poem for her, Chancellor Kester. That was a really hard one to write, right? Because she's your boss. And I had to get that one right. But I think in the end we got it. You think, Erin? Okay. Okay. Seems like she liked it too. Yeah.
So, speaking of writing poems for your boss, will Provost Harper be writing one at your retirement?
No, but I heard.
No
yeah, I
pressure.
heard he has other creative talents like dancing. So he's gonna probably do a lot of dancing creativity, right, Provost?
Creative
Yeah.
dance.
So he's giggling because I like to dance too. So there is this story, and I'll just leave this as a bit of historical. So everyone knows I love to dance, and so one of our first cabinet meetings, we go up to La Paz, and Andres Chavez is giving us a tour of the national monuments and the National Institute of Cesar Chavez, and so it's a very serious cabinet retreat. But I say to the cabinet, now we're going to learn a dance, and we're going to be like a flash mob when people need a little uplifting. We're going to have our dance, and we're going to go out and we're going to do our dance. So I told this to the cabinet, and I actually thought it was a really good idea, but I could tell they were panicked. Some bought new shoes for the La Paz trip because they thought they were really going to have to learn like tap or something. And so anyway, we ended up instead, because I could tell it was causing a lot of anxiety. We end up instead, I bought a sparkly glove because I was there was a lot of joking at the cabinet retreat about doing the moonwalk. So I had a Michael Jackson sparkly glove, and instead we gave out the Rock Star Award with the sparkly glove, which is now passed on to remarkable cabinet members year to year. Please.
So, when she did this, when she pranked us this way, I want to let you know that all of the cabinet members, Victor, Thomas, and Tom, we were all in a room going, is she really going to make us do this?
Yes.
Are we going to dance, or what are you going to do? What are you going to, I don't know, Tom, what's he going to do? And so it was, we were completely petrified by that. And the last thing I'll say is we did give out the last Rockstar Award, and it went back to President Celeste.
Yes, they broke the rules.
For being our Rockstar.
They broke the rules. So it was only ever supposed to go to the cabinet member. But it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I think Provost is going to lead the dance routines. Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Sounds like an event. Any other questions, comments, or thoughts for the president?
Hello, President Zelezny.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you for joining us today and all of your kind words and that beautiful poem. So, Dr. Hegde actually kind of talked on something that was kind of towards my question. He talked about a poem of if Dr. Harper was going to write one for you, but my question is if there was a poem about your life and about your career, what are some of the highlights you'd hope that would have been mentioned?
Oh, my goodness, that's so sweet. Wow, I will really have to think about that. So when I think about my life, often it's not my career that I'm first thinking about. So I love being a mother. Everyone's heard me say that. And now I am a grandmother, and that's very, very special. So there's many things that are layered in my life, and I love my career, my profession, but it is not the only me. And I think that's important to always share, because for those that are wanting to live up to the challenge of leadership, you have to remember to model balance, and that if you don't, that other people will say, this doesn't look like a joyful job. And my job is very joyful. Let me just say that. Now, not every minute, and not 100% of the time, but that when you come into the job. So I think the other thing I would say is that I really feel like this has been the place that I was supposed to be, and it was a dream to be here, and I've loved every second, and I'll miss it. But it really has been a place that I felt like we could come together and really get a big lift, and we have. We've done a lot these last few years. So I would hope people would recognize that, it is about modeling the right thing for others, and making sure that you're bringing up others behind you and paying it forward. So I hope all those things would be mentioned.
Good question, Erin.
Yeah. Here's Maria. Maria's got a good question, I know.
Thank you. No, not because then my accent. Okay, thank you for
Thank you,
your poem.
Maria.
It's, appreciate it. I really loved the words you've chosen.
Yes.
So I was wondering, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. So you get inspired by many things about your life's journey, and you try to use words to actually describe that kind of inspiration.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So while you were at CSUB, and your journey with CSUB, with us, with the students, has been a poem itself, right? And so what kind of word or words would you choose that would best symbolize your journey with us in the poem called Zelezny's CSUB Journey?
Passion would be one of the words. I feel very passionate about the work that we do here. Pride, and really true affection.
May I add one?
Please.
I think it's nourishment, because I've noticed that you've used that word in this poem, the one
Yes.
you presented us with.
Yes.
And I was wondering about it all along when you used that and talked about bounty and nourishment. And
Yes.
I think that there's something to be said about that.
Yes, thank you. And it fits so well with ag business, because they nourish the world.
That's
Right.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Because it's not only the nourishment of the mind or the body.
Oh, no.
It's of the nourishment, cannot pronounce the
Yeah,
word, but
it's true.
but how you interrelate and how we interrelate with people.
That's
And
right.
So
That's
very
right.
important.
That's right. Yeah, this is a wonderful, I love the ethos of Cal State Bakersfield. I usually use the word personal touch. And I mean that symbolically, because you can feel it here. And I can say it with authority, because I've been at other CSUs, both as a student and also in other positions. So this has a very different feel to it, and it's one that should be noted. And I'm the one that can really describe it, because I can compare. And it's special here, and it is about the people. It is about the people, and we're very fortunate that we have this here. So, yes, there are challenges that we work on every day, but we're so lucky to have each other in this work together here. And I really would not trade our students for any students in the world, and that also goes for my faculty and staff colleagues. It's just with great affection that we do this work together.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Does anybody else have any questions? Yes.
Dr. Zelezny. Hi,
Hello,
good
nice to see
again.
you.
Yes, okay. So you mentioned when you were creating this poem, you had like a use of alliterations, and there was definitely like a tone I heard in the ending. I hate to like say it was the ending, but you said it ended with M, and I think it was maintain us now.
Yeah.
And I think, your reference to the whole poem, you said it was like a methodical approach. So I just, throughout that poem, I just noted a tone that, it was conclusive, at the maintain us now. And
Yes,
I
yes.
just wanted to note on that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for noting that. Yeah, the close is really important. And the tone changes. That, really each poem has a different tone to it. It really is dependent on, who it's written about. Barbara is a truly special gift. And so, in a way, it makes it really easy to write about Barbara. She is this remarkable, giving, kind, strong but gentle person. So she's very easy to get to know. She's gracious at every juncture with her. So she's really easy, and she's a very strong woman of faith. So that's where that close comes from, is out of respect for her, because you know that about her immediately. She's very open about that. So you want to make sure you get the right tone for every poem, which should feel very different. I should say, one of the fun things that I had when I was at Fresno State is that as provost, I had the really big opportunity that at the time the U.S. Poet Laureate Juan Felipe Herrera was at Fresno State. And so I said to the president, I said, look, how many universities have a U.S. Poet Laureate? We've got to do something special about that. So I was able to find a place in the library, and he's a kick to work with. Talk about creative. So he's about music and dance and art, paintings and all sorts of things. And so I met with him and I said, let's find a place in the library. What do you want it to be called? And so this took lots of brainstorming about words he wanted, but it ended up being called the Laureate Lab. And in that lab, there was everything. There was paints and things to draw on. He wanted engineering tables. He wanted a stage for children to come in and present and do skits. And it turned out to be really remarkable. And he and I are good friends. Of course, he was at my investiture. And then also, very well-known, Philip Levine was also a faculty member at Fresno State, and he's a very well-known urban poet. And I was able to open the Philip Levine poetry room, and all of his works were given to the library. So in a way, you should never underestimate the words and the many ways that they touch people's lives. But that was a lot of fun for me as the provost to be inspired by that.
Thanks. Anybody else? Any question? So while they're thinking about it, I have another one. Obviously, you like poetry.
I do.
Can you tell us what kind of poetry you like, and if you have a favorite poem or a favorite poet?
Well, I really love Robert Frost, and I really love Maya Angelou. So I shared, and Still I Rise with all of you. Now, nobody does that better than Soraya Coley. Let me just say that. So she was provost here before I came, and she's a good friend of mine, and I've heard her recite that poem. That is like her DNA. So nobody does it better than her. Well, maybe Maya Angelou, but I love that poem, and I love the history of it. But I love the spirit of it. No matter what hits you, you still rise, and you trust yourself, and you get up, and you still, you are still you. So that's a very beautiful poem. But I love reading children's poems as well, and I think, it's really important to expose children to words and to let them create. And I find really great beauty in very simplistic lines and verse from children, and I think those are very special.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. There you go.
Oh.
Oh.
Hello, Luis.
Oh, what's this over there?
My
He's
friend.
closer to you.
Thank you.
Other than traveling the world, I'm thinking that in the future, what a gift it will be for students to have you back in the classroom. Any chance that you may do that?
Luis, if you were the chair of the psychology department, yeah, I taught for so many years, and I loved time in the classroom. I really loved research. I really, really loved that. But yeah, I think there might be an opportunity to be like a visiting scholar. I've loved that. I was a visiting scholar at University of Stockholm during my research career, and then I had a short Fulbright in Berlin. That was fun. So yeah, I wouldn't mind that, but we'll see what comes my way. I'm going to be very open. Thank you, Luis. You're very kind.
I'll share a story. I like poetry because sometimes it draws your attention to things that you don't normally think about. It makes you appreciate them. Same thing with images. So last month we had a painter, an artist who talked about her painting and her things. And I remember one of the meetings we had, and I went to the president and I said, what exactly is this seal that we have here? I don't understand it. I don't know if you remember, she looked at it and goes, you of all people should appreciate it, because there are fields and the sun's rising over the field. And I had not seen that. And I don't know why I didn't see it. And after that, I don't look at it the same way. So thanks for.
Well, that was all of you. That I have, I loved it. All I had to do is say, I love it. But no, all of you created that. Yes, those are fields. And that is the sun rising, and of course, rising is something I brought here. And I thought about it before I was actually, the president here. I thought about what are the words that describe where I'm going, and the rising was so clear to me, and we still use it, so that makes me really happy. But yeah, I think you all did really well on the brand. I think you did a beautiful job on it. But that came from the inspiration of the collective. So, and I love it too.
Right. I didn't see it until literally you pointed it out to me. So it says something about me. But
that's art, right?
Any other questions? Yes.
Oh, thanks, Heather.
Hi, President Zelezny.
Hi.
How many poems have you written over your life, and what emotion do you usually turn to, or what brings out the creative spirit in you?
I've probably written hundreds, and I will say the range is from deep sorrow, loss, to joy, often joy for the people in your life. That brings out easy verse. But then amazement, I will say, surprise, and then of course love. That's really the easiest for me. And all of that comes out. So, the story with my grandfather is my mother is an immigrant and met my dad, who was a Air Force pilot in England, and then on her side, both of those grandparents are immigrants. So everybody, when they came to the U.S., everybody had to work. So my grandfather worked night shift, and all the women worked day. And then there were children. So my grandfather worked a assembly line and would come home and bless his heart, my grandmother didn't drive, so he'd drive her to work, and then there'd be the children to watch, and I'm the eldest grandchild on both sides. So, but I would be pretty little. So the way he kept me occupied while, he was probably pretty tired, and he had to cook, he was the cook, was to tell me, write me a poem and then recite it to me. So that's how it all got started. But my grandfather thought that was brilliant. And I'm cleaning out things from my house because I have to minimize for our eventual move. And I find all these letters from my grandfather about the poems. So he was a true instigator. He made it something that made him happy, and I think also it was really true. I really think when these words popped out of my mouth as a 5-year-old, he would act like, oh my gosh, and he would tell my mom, oh, have Lynette read this poem to you, right? And my mom was tired, she was come home for work, and oh yeah, that's good, But my grandfather was like, wow. And so anything I ever did, he would always, think it was just brilliant. Yeah. No, it wasn't, but he thought it was.
Anybody else? Will you, at some point, put them all in a book?
Yeah, Soraya Coley was asking me that. She said, are you going to write a book, all these poems that you do? And I said, yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It's not my, I don't do it for that.
Right.
It doesn't, I like when people ask me to do it. So I was really honored when you asked me. And I don't see Daisy Alamillo here, but ASI has asked me to do a poem, so I've scheduled my last time with them. I'll have a poem. And I'll be recognized at the November Board of Trustees for emeritus status. Has to be voted on, but I'm feeling confident. I'll have to have some closing remarks, and I'll maybe try and make some of it poetic. We'll see.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yes, in the back. Don't be shy.
Hi, thank you, President Zelensky, for
Yes,
coming and
thank you.
speaking to us. You had a wonderful poem. And going back to what Dr. Hegde said about writing a book, I think it would be such a good idea to leave a book because it leaves behind a legacy of you, have people
Yes.
remember you by and see, who truly is President Zelensky, get to know you a
Thank
little better,
you.
your background, and much more.
Oh, that's
That's
so
just what I
nice.
wanted to say.
That's so lovely of you. Thank you. Well, I'll consider it more seriously. I do have a book in mind, but it's more about the story and the stories and paths and journeys of women leaders. So I have a book that I edited with colleagues at Fresno State on the founding social psychologists and their journeys, because social psychology is about the context, right? And so the stories are really important. So we have a book, and that was a pretty successful book. It sold well, and social psychology is such a fun discipline. You really can't go wrong with it. It's such a surprising discipline, right? So many counterintuitive findings. But it was great to have the opportunity to meet some of the founding fathers, and they were all fathers when you think about the founding social psychologists. I got to meet them, and it's a young discipline. So I do plan to do a second edition, but it will be about the stories of women leaders, but again, the context of their stories and how different they are. But thank you. Thanks for giving me hope and courage to maybe do a book of poems. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Zelensky.
Thank you.
My name is Anthony Marquez, and I'm an actual ag business major.
Yes.
Hearing your complex poem and how you actually structured it to actually have a broad, it has actually broad major themes, the way you intake it. My actual question is not about the book, but do you have any future poems with major themes on ag business, seeing that there's actual bunches of opportunities in there?
Yes, I'm a social psychologist, but my disciplinary specialty is in environmental psychology. So when I mentioned Robert Frost, he writes about the landscapes, and that's actually why I'm drawn to his poems. And then also, interestingly, and all of you should think about these touch points in your life and what a difference it makes. So going to Humboldt, at the time I went to Humboldt, it was in the 70s, and so that's during the environmental movement, the green movement, and that, although I didn't think it would, have this long-lasting impact on me, it has. So, time in the redwood, forest, time out in the marshes, time out in the dramatic, seaside waters. So it has, somehow it permeates you, and it comes out into your discipline, and as well into, products of art. So it wouldn't surprise me that I have many more, but I have such fun. Like, when I write the poems, like, I got such a kick. I wanted to get carrots in there somewhere. So, it's funny when I go back and look at my own poems that I still favor. I still look at, collection of words, and I go, that was a really good collection of words. So yeah, I really liked beacons of bunches in this poem. So B is for beauty, and beacons of bunches, and I thought Barbara would like that. Thanks for giving me courage on that.
Any other questions? I was thinking when you mentioned the women leaders, you were obviously the first woman president at CSUB, and yes. And also, you were recognized by, I think, our state legislature as the 13th president, women president in the system. So when President Zelensky was appointed as a president, it became majority women presidents in the CSU, and you had a commendation that you brought to the Senate.
That's right.
That I remember. So
yeah, in fact, we were just talking about Jean Fuller. Here's a really fun story. So they call me from the state capitol, and they say, we're going to invite you to come up and be recognized as a CSU woman president. And I said, oh no, I'm not going to be able to come. I'm not yet the president. And they said, oh, well no, you have to come because you were the tipping point. I didn't know. I knew nothing of that. So that was never on my radar. I wasn't ever thinking when I was working hard to try and get this position, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'll be the first woman president. It was far from it. So it was really embarrassing, that when they called, I didn't know that. And I was like, trying to beg my way out of it because I didn't think it was appropriate. It's like, no, I'm not yet the president. So, and then, there's Jean Fuller there, of course, singing my high praises. So another woman leader, fabulous. Yeah.
And what it was, yes. What I was going to add is you're probably also the first poet president in the system.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if that could be true. I don't know, but yeah.
I was talking to President from Channel Islands yesterday at the conference, and I mentioned that you were doing this today. He goes, oh, she's a great poet. We've heard, so.
Oh, so nice. Yeah, we have a lot of fun. The presidents are really fun friends, and the fact that they trust me to write a poem about them, I mean, that's pretty risky. Yeah, could be anything.
Sure.
That's kind. Thanks.
But again, thank you for agreeing to do this. So
oh,
I know
it's a joy. It's a joy. I've had such fun. It was great, and I think Barbara will like it too once Erin helps me with the keepsake. Yeah, she'll love it.
So does anybody have any other final questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Lynn? Oh.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Zalesny.
Oh, it's so nice to see you.
Yes, Belen Mendiola, BPA Advising Center
Yes,
Coordinator.
of course.
And so I've seen you lead over the years with integrity and grace in very difficult situations. How do you talk to yourself? What techniques do you use? How do you keep your composure in those situations?
Well, I really do lean in on my social psychology background. And Ms. Luis and other psychologists know in the room that in those difficult, challenging situations, it's really important to reframe what's in front of you. So if someone has an issue with you, me, I often have to reframe it that it's not about me personally, usually. It's about the title I have, right? And I actually respect that. I respect that there should, people should feel, and I want them to feel free to say what they want to say and what they need to say. And I really respect and will be the first fighter of just say it the way you need to say it, right? Sometimes it's not professional, sometimes it's not respectful, but I do really value that in a university environment, people should be able to say it the way that it's in their head and in their heart. So it's about reframing it and then about reflecting on it. So, what do I learn from that? Are there pieces of wisdom in that somewhere? And sometimes I have to take a little more time, we're usually better when people speak and we hear voices, and we can collectively think about how that makes us stronger. So I can't really think of too many times where I've been unglued by those challenging moments. Just because I think my discipline really supports well in how you approach those things, and also just my deep belief that that's the role of a university. So thanks for noticing, and thanks for the good question.
Yeah, many times we meet monthly. I've gone in there unglued about some issue, and I leave there and nothing phases the president, and I'm looking forward to doing the same with the interim President Harper.
Aaron, did you have a final closing comment? Or someone over this? Yeah, somebody had a hand up. Yeah, I want to make sure. This has been a real joy for me. This has been so gracious of you to sit through my, these are not trained poetry, so you're very sweet to sit through it.
Well, thank you, President Selesny. I had just a quick little comment I wanted to mention, and no pun intended, but it's almost poetic in itself. You mentioned the poet laureate that made your investiture poem, and I was lucky enough with projects in the office to learn about him, and it's interesting because agriculture, a lot of people don't realize how much even art can tie into it, and I think that's what's cool about these lecture series, and for you to be our guest speaker, because I know with our previous one, it was focused in showcasing art. But what's amazing about that poet laureate is that he was influenced by agriculture and his background, which I don't know if people know about that, but that's why I say it's almost poetic that he started and kicked off the investiture with your poem, and then here you are almost closing now your time here, and you're giving us this gift of a beautiful poem that also is influenced with agriculture. So just wanted to, no pun intended, show how poetic that is in itself.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for that.
It's a perfect subject because there's such beauty in the bounty of agriculture. So it's a very close alignment. So thanks for noting that.
And that's a good final question.
Yes.
Before we thank President Zelezny, I noticed a couple of my colleagues who were on the Council of Affiliated Faculty were here. I didn't see them earlier. So Dr. Najma Kamiabi is in the back over there.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And Dr. John Deal is in the real back.
Yes, thank you. Very kind.
So they're also part of the Council of Affiliate Faculty, and their students will be presenting research November 17th. So I can't thank President Zelezny enough. When we were talking about the speaker series and things like that, and she's been very supportive. And anybody that has any interactions with her, student, faculty, staff, you know how supportive she is. And she's got, as my dad is actually a big fan of the president. He would watch live streams when the president from Canada. And his highest compliment he gave me, he said, her mind is like a computer. So it's amazing that you know, and I've been really fortunate to be able to work with her on this stuff. So without hesitation, I said, you know, we are going to have the speaker series. Would you consider writing a poem? No hesitation.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's a definite yes, because it's so much fun.
so
And
thank-
this has been a joy. So thank you very much for the honor. And thank all of you for sitting in a long evening and really honoring me. So I really hold it very close to my heart. Thank you so much.
and before, yes. So thank you all for coming, but I want to thank a few other people. So Tricia Harmon, she's in the back there. And of course, you already met Aaron Pruitt, who's an intern at the center. And then, of course, all the students, you know Dina Eberling. She's the one that sends you information about commencement. And then, last but not least, back here is Thomas. He's the IT person who's also very helpful. And thank you all for coming, and hopefully you'll come again. So November 17th is the student research here, 11 to 4, and November 29th is the next speaker on sustainable agriculture, and there's some flyers out there if you want to do that. And if you've signed up, we'll keep you informed of the thing. So thank you all for coming. Thanks, Patty.